Should we just? Oh, I forgot to say I have a hard out at 4. So
Yeah, then let's get going.
okay. Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build our products and build our products. Jesus Christ. Let's start over. Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I am Benedicta, and I'm feeling motivated.
And I'm Benedict. Today is May 13th. This is episode number 222, and I'm feeling a little bit tired.
Oh no, not good.
Yeah, I didn't sleep well tonight. I'm not exactly
Oh.
sure why, but like woke up this morning with a headache and like just like dragging myself through the day so far.
Nothing better. I felt like that last week, so I think it's the spring weather that used to give me lots of energy. Was just I don't know. It wasn't, but now it does. So we're all good. But I'm a little. I guess I'm motivated. I'm also a little stressed because it's 4 weeks until we set sail, and we'll be living on a boat for 10 or 11 weeks. And we're going to be crossing the
Exciting.
North Sea and the Biscay Bay. And there will be stretches of time where we might not have internet access because we're not, buying a Starlink or anything like that for. Is
Right.
that what it's called? Anyway, for this trip, most of the time we're going to stay close to European shore. I have a cell phone service that like has pretty cheap data wherever I am in Europe. So I think
Should
I'll
be
be
fine.
connected, but
Who
but
knows?
so we'll see how it goes with these recordings. And just working. So I just notified Outseta. I've been like mentioning it, but I don't think I'd like actually. I was like, have I actually told them? So I was like, from June 10th until end of August, I'll be living on a boat. So I might not be able at times to respond to support tickets and things like that. But Jeff at the company, he travels a lot with his family. So I mean, we have a setup where, it's fine if you can say like, okay, for a couple of days, like I might not be as responsive, like I'm not solely
Yeah.
responsible. So that's what's good with the team, right? It's not all on me to be available. Uh but I'm little yeah, little bit of traveling jitters, I guess.
It's a big thing, right? Like, I mean, living on a boat for like 11 weeks, that's definitely a change of pace. I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out. Hopefully the recordings will just keep going and we have some like fun stories from the sea or whatever. Maybe you turn into a pirate for real this time. Um, oh, you should actually do some
I
like
am the
proper
real
like
pirate.
yeah, you
Excuse
are,
me.
of course, of course. But you should do those live streams again and be like, we're actually on a boat right now.
We had a live stream yesterday. So I was talking about this, that I've been working on this demo app for Outseta that I think I mentioned last time, I spent way too long on, but it is paying off because I've had two blog posts already on my personal blog, which I think is also good for Outseta. And especially I'm sharing them on Reddit and, why Hacker News and stuff like that. And you can't really share like, just like company updates and like marketing on those sites. And then it's also created articles on the Outseta knowledge base about how to integrate with databases. And then finally, it's like I was in that mood where I wanted to do live streaming again, and we did that yesterday. But Ula didn't want to be up on his loft, so I was like, "But we can't be in the same room because it's all going to be echoing." So he sat outside on his, because he also got a new Mac this year, and it actually like with just the Mac mic, and it was surprisingly good. And we were kidding, like we should continue live streaming on the boat and like have like the captain walking behind us and everyone doing their thing and just be on separate sides of the boat so we don't get that like
Right.
that echo effect. So we'll see. It all depends, right? Because I don't know what I've signed up for. I'm super excited, and maybe it's going to be super productive, maybe it won't be productive at all, because I guess working will be one of the ways I can get private alone time. So I might become very, very motivated
Very
to like
productive.
sit with my laptop in a room and shut the door. But we'll see. So far, like the plan is west coast of Norway over to Scotland, through Scotland, there's some channel there, down in between Ireland and the UK, over to north of Spain, and then down the coast of Portugal. So if you live anywhere along those lines, please let me know. And I would love to, get on shore and meet some other people.
Or if you happen to have a boat, like meet them halfway or something like that.
Exactly. We are very open, and our captain is very much in this to like have experiences and meet people along the way. So, and he's an entertainer. So, if we're passing along and you would like an opera singer slash entertainer slash engineer at your whatever event, let us know.
Sounds pretty cool. What else has been going on these days?
So, this morning we had a planning session with the mentor group that I've been talking about that I planned with. And we usually make these like plan A's in January. But a lot of us kind of like didn't get that done, or it was like it felt. And then yesterday we were talking, and suddenly we had a plan A session this morning. And I was okay, I'm gonna focus on Galleon, our new ID, and I like have that be my focus. And I was looking back through the notes from January, and I didn't think I had any. Like I don't remember. Like I was like, I didn't do that. And I looked back, and I had things like find the joy in just making things online again, and then make money off of it. So I mean, I am making money off of it. This is how I have the jobs that I have. But I felt like when we were streaming yesterday, I was like, and with this like feedback forward app that I made, like I was having that like playful fun again, and being able to be on stream and all of that. So that was fun. And then I had something that helps people do their projects. So I like to help people actually make things, not just like give advice or courses or that kind of thing that I've been dabbling with. And I was like, this is like, that is perfect for Galleon. Like Galleon will be a service that helps you actually do the project, like, do the project and do it correctly. So I was like, I was actually, these things have been on my mind longer than I realized. And then I also had like something in like what excites you now is like something in the no code, low code intersection. So looking back, I was like, I did actually plan this. So, kudos to me. So I sat down and I worked through some goals for Galleon. This is why I'm feeling very motivated today. And the challenge will be to have these be visible and be reminded of them. So I guess that's this podcast job that I hopefully manage to keep recording over the summer to remind me of these goals. But what I ended up writing as my main goal, I'm going to put up the notes so I can say it exactly. Yes. So be in a position to apply for Tiny Seed in February 2026.
Ooh.
And the thing with that is like, it doesn't have, like, we might not have to apply, or like, we might not want to apply, or we might apply. But I want to be in that position that like have like a goal that makes you think more systematically and more kind of like organized and I've been thinking about Galleon too. Like if we keep on going with this idea, I mean, it might be that we figure out that it shouldn't be made. I mean, that's always a possibility,
Right.
but long term, I want to be able to apply for Tiny Seed, and then also maybe in like a future scenario, build it so that it could be sold. And that's because I've I heard this advice, and it makes sense that if you build it like that, it's easier to run.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like have these thoughts in my mind. So on the goal side, then specifically, it's like 10 paying customers. I don't know if that's enough for them, but that's what I put there. And then that means we'll need to at least launch an official MVP in October, mid-October. And I need to have like a tiny beta being made while we're sailing. So if this timeline fails, my backup timeline is Tiny Seed September 2026. Like if it turns out we can't code on the boat at all, or somebody gets sick or whatever. But I think this, like, it gets me. I mean, I feel very motivated by like having to like build it so I can write this application.
Yeah.
and possibly, hopefully, get it accepted.
Yeah, just having a goal and like having that goal in mind and building up that process, right? Like, or like that deadline. Yeah, I guess that helps prioritizing and making sure you focus on the right things and all of that stuff. So sounds like a
Yeah.
solid idea.
So actually, on the notes that I have here on paper, I think I also wrote like by spending time or what did I write? By focusing on marketing and activation / onboarding over coding more features.
Yep, sounds like a good idea.
Now just follow the plan, because I realized when I was planning, it was like we were planning like what are some sub goals, what are some sub projects, and I was like, I can build, like, I'm so certain I can build this, but like that's not the hard part with this project
That's not
at
the
all.
hard
So I'm
part, yes.
like, yeah. So that yeah. I'm very, like, I don't know. I feel very motivated about the goal. I feel very motivated with the ID. Like, it's been simmering for a long time. We talked about it several times, but I really feel like there's a need for it. But as I said last episode, I saw the tweet where it's like, well, you need to speak to customers or like potential customers. So Ola has already started talking to setting up user interviews. He's had 2 so far. And we've already kind of verified one thing that makes me scared of the ID, and that is that they don't understand, like, the more junior Webflow builders don't understand that what they're making is unsecure.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking that I think, like, marketing wise, we also need to be easier. Like, we can't just be secure. So the way they're doing it now, they're often, if they have data in Airtable and somebody authenticates with for instance, Outseta, the way they would do it now in Webflow is that they would set up some sort of automation process that takes data from Airtable and puts it into a Webflow CMS collection, and then they use the data from the Webflow CMS collection to put it on the page, and then they client side hide the pages that people shouldn't be able to see, which is fine for data that is not personal. But we've been talking to people, it's like, it could be invoices, it could be personal information. So it's, it's not secure, but they don't, not like, are they looking for something more secure? But I mean, it's a very brittle system where something changes on Airtable, they have to make sure that the Webflow CMS is updated. And there are products that do specifically that, and they're super expensive. Other people are doing it more with a SAP or Make integration. So if we could make it easier with Gateway, then we would have a way in without them understanding that it's more secure.
Right. Like the more secure is a benefit, but not necessarily one they are looking for, right?
Exactly. But then these are the 2 interviews we had so far are with juniors. These are people we recruited from Reddit. But we have interviews with much more experienced Webflow developers or builders coming up. So it's going to be interesting if they're asking themselves these questions. And then there is this level of Webflow users or builders that are using something called Vizd, which is like kind of like coding, and they are making more like client-side apps than just content sites. So I think maybe they have this have a little bit more interest in the secure part of this, and they hate setting up Supabase row levels permissions. So I'm not sure yet if we like verify that nobody's looking for the secure thing, but we've definitely verified that some people don't understand what they're making is insecure.
Yeah. And we talked about this a couple episodes ago, like where the insecurity usually comes from not knowing what you don't know, right? Like, yeah. And therefore marketing to those people wouldn't work because they had no idea, right? Yeah. Makes sense.
So, but at least we're talking to people, and this is hopefully something we can continue doing over the summer, even even with being on the boat. And yeah, and then I also reached out to Carter, who's created Approximate,
Hmm.
and had a call with him. And turns out he's a friend of the show. He's like, "Yeah, I know what I know what your idea is." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So hello to Carter. And so we've been chatting about, because he does Laravel, and that's what I've decided, that we're going to build this on Laravel. And then after talking it through with him with the React front end, we've also talked about this because I know React. But interestingly, he was also up for potentially mentoring Ula. So after I
Hmm.
create kind of the MVP, talking through the technical decisions with him, then he could be helping Ula do more of the maintenance and kind of like easier, kind of like building out smaller features in the fall. Um, and because we've tried with me being that person, and it's not working so well, having your partner be your technical mentor. So yeah, so I hope that will work out, because I think that he also has like some skills that you have that I don't have around operations, a little bit more on like maybe even like database table like structures and stuff like that. So Approximate is a tool that lets you easily like create like proxy certificates or certificates for like
I
if
think it's mostly for like hosting custom domains for a customer, right? So,
yes,
and you get
that's
like
true.
SSL certificates and stuff like that for free, basically. And I think the product is called Approximated,
Oh,
not
Approximate
Approximate.
Dead. Yeah.
Approximated.app. It's pretty cool. And
Check out the
Carlos,
description for the link.
Carlos definitely a cool person. We interviewed him for the customer support role a while back. Didn't end up
Ah.
working out, but like, yeah, would have loved to work with him.
And exactly, like I kind of explained what his things does, but I know it's things that I need at some point for Galleon. So I was like, this could be a nice overlap of like knowledge and experience. Um, and then I'll just keep talking because I'm so excited, about Galleon. Um, because we talked after the show last time that one way to do this too is just to proxy the whole Webflow site
Hmm.
and add authentication on certain paths. And I did talk with Carter about that, and I went down a rabbit hole on Reddit and like trying to figure out what people are doing, because I know some people are putting it behind Cloudflare workers and then sending in the authenticate like the JOT there
Right.
and then gating it. But then I saw like several references to maybe this not being 100% according to the terms of service
Hmm.
to actually have the Webflow domain that's like a myapp.webflow.io pointing to that behind a proxy. So there seemed to be like a lot of like things there that maybe wasn't like 100% sure that would be okay. Um, but it's still a possibility. But the 2 days after, Webflow launched Webflow Cloud.
Hmm.
So and I was like, Webflow Cloud, like what is that? And it's Vercel or Netlify. So you are able to then deploy your React application, for instance, next to your Webflow site uh, in Webflow Cloud, and their like pitch is that then it would be easier to set up both under the same domain.
Hmm.
And then some hinting to proxying. So I'm wondering if they're going to come with a proxy tool or service
Yeah,
at
so
some
like some
point.
edge functions would be nice for like Webflow edge functions or something like that would be the thing for you to use, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see that
So
mentioned anywhere just yet. But well, maybe eventually.
yeah, so I'm not 100% sure where they're going, with that product, but I'm also thinking that it could be a push that also could be good for us, because I know how to make things work on Netlify and Vercel. So we could just take all of the things I've ever made and then make an article that is how to do this on Webflow Cloud when people are like Googling for Webflow Cloud stuff. And then we could do in the bottom, you can make a like some sort of API endpoint on Webflow Cloud, and you can do all this filtering with the data from Airtable, blah blah blah, do this, do that, and then it's like, if you want to just visually configure this, use Galeon Gateway, and take that playbook from Pierre of Scraping Bee, where he like really explains how you can do this on your own, but like let us handle it instead, and you don't have to like do all that code. And it will give like Webflow a new kind of more push towards the vibe coders, the
Right.
Yeah. So at first I was like, what is this? Like, is this going to ruin this whole idea? And also, we don't have to have Webflow users as our customers, but we've decided on them as our first. At least that's what we're trying to verify now. And I think if they have a marketing push, that is always beneficial to like
Right.
have a marketing. You can like ride the wave of a large company's marketing push. You can like steal some of their steam. But so that was all of my Galeon motivated rambles.
Sounds like you're making good progress on that. Like, yeah, it's exciting.
And I'm most excited that I don't have to do all these user interviews.
Yeah, well, probably doesn't hurt if you do some of them as well, but like I know
I'll be in on some of them. I will. But we're getting them recorded and AI summarized, so I can dig through them. And then I'll come back more when it's like more to the point, like this is our solution, and like talking to them about security, and I can do those with these initial calls, just listening for needs and terminology and that kind of thing. Like it's nice that I don't have to do it all.
Nice. Yeah.
On your side.
On my side, yeah. Feels like not a lot has happened over the past 2 weeks. We are by now, I think we are deep into the redesign project. I think most of the components are restyled, following the new design that Jane came up with, but like all of the layouts are still the old ones. Like, so right now, like we have a preview deploy of the application with the new styling applied running on Netlify. And right now it's in this weird, like super weird state where it kind of looks like the old one, but also kind of like the new one, because the layouts and the navigation and all of that is still the old implementation. But like all the buttons and the inputs, they're all restyled looking like the new one. So it's like it's super weird. It just doesn't make any sense. But I think we're just wrapping up a couple more components this week. For example, tables still need the redesign. And then we're going to tackle the basic layout changes with, like, right now we have a top navigation. We're going to get a sidebar navigation because it's just too much, like we have too many items in the top navigation these days. So it's going to be a sidebar navigation. And I think when that step is done, it will look like a different thing because that's a major change. So I'm super excited about the progress there. I was initially planning to be very much in the weeds with that as well, and like whittling and fiddling and tweaking stuff. But so far it has been all Leo's work. And I've been working on other stuff the entire time. But it's
I'm so happy for you. This is so, I know I keep reiterating, but since we started talking, like pre-post Leo for you it was amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of nice to not, as much as I want to dabble with it, not having to dabble with it is also kind of nice. So yeah, I'm probably going to jump in there at some point. But right now the progress is fast enough, and like it has no major problems. So all good.
But I feel also like then he can do that, and you can still, like, if there's a bug coming in, or if there something is happening, you can do that, and he can keep focusing and actually get that done in like calendar time, like we talked about, so it doesn't drag out. Because if you were alone with it and then something urgent came in, you would have to push it to the side, and then you had to pick it back up, and like it's
Exactly, and that's exactly how we've been dealing with this. Um, I've I could talk about what other stuff I've been working on, but I wanted to touch on one more thing with the redesign, and that is naming colors is hard. It's really hard. It sounds like a stupid simple thing, but we have like I think we had like hour-long discussions on how to do it, and I think we came to a decision that made sense back then, but now implementing it, we're already starting to question if this is the right approach.
So you're talking
And it's
like
crazy.
primary, secondary, tertiary, brand, those kinds of
Though, yeah,
things?
those kinds of things, but also like we used to have colors for all of this, color names for all of that stuff. In the early days, using SAS back then, and we had stuff like basically names like that describe the color, like a deep purple and a vivid blue and stuff like that. And at some point, we did a redesign, and because we were using the variables, we just changed the values, right? So the deep purple is actually black now. And we never made the shift to just like clean it all up. So that it was very obvious that naming the colors like this doesn't make any sense. Or I guess it still makes sense because like when talking about the colors, it's nice to have those names, right? Like if you can say, hey, I want this to be black, I want this to be the vivid blue. So it's not hex values you're talking about, but like you have names for those actually those colors, right? But then in the code, it doesn't make a lot of sense to use those names, right? You don't want to set the background color to vivid blue because that doesn't make any like that's not semantic in a way, right? And we then decided to add this extra layer, like where we have the named colors, but then assign them to semantic values and then use the semantic values throughout. But by now we have like 20 different colors, like 20 different color names for like semantics. And it already starts feeling like this is like way too fine grained. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, like I don't think we have a perfect solution for this just yet, but we keep iterating, I guess.
Yeah, this is my big gripe with Tailwind is that they just say it's so hard to just use the name of the color. So in
Yeah.
Tailwind, there's like you use Ember 400, which is like a shade of ember or amber. And I don't like it from like gut feeling theoretical
Yeah.
like both, because I'm like, okay, what if I want to change brand color from red to orange? Then I have to go through all, and also these, in Tailwind, the its classes in the HTML. It's like I get all stressed just thinking about it. But then I also know there are multiple super, great products that use Tailwind this way, and I'm like, am I just being difficult to be difficult?
Yeah, like we at some point we discussed just not using like just putting the hex values wherever we need them.
Mhm,
Because yeah, like it's hard to find a balance, like
mhm,
because both extremes are kind of stupid,
mhm,
and the middle, like finding a good middle ground is also not as straightforward as you'd hope.
mhm.
So I will keep iterating, and maybe at the end of this project I have a better idea, but maybe we also decided that it's still kind of messy and doesn't make any sense.
I'm looking forward to see where you land, because this is one of these things I can never agree with myself on.
Exactly. Like you come up with one approach and you start working with it, and the next day it looks off. Like
Mhm.
it makes sense in the moment, but then in hindsight, it's also kind of weird. And
And
I
then it
am
also the
not. I'm not confident that we have it figured out, fully figured out, ever.
And then you have these cases where there's like 5 shades of one color. And that's where I think Tailwind has done a really good job, where you can have different shades of the same color. So even though I wouldn't go for like red, if it was primary, but instead of having kind of like primary light, primary medium, primary something, where
Right.
you like think you're only going to have 3 shades of this color. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to have 10. So let's just go with then
Yeah.
primary dash 100, 200, 300, 400, which, or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, like, but that,
The one
it's,
thing I want to try next is using relative colors, which is a relatively new feature where you can like just take the base color and then make it lighter, make it darker, make it more transparent, like shift it to green, whatever. So I have some hopes that that will make it easier, but let's see. Like,
but then I can tell you that the Tailwind colors are all handpicked, because they realize just going down 100 in like or whatever is shifting it often doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's also a thing to
But I've seen
consider.
people
And
do it too. But I'm just making it harder for you. Sorry.
No. I mean,
I've gone down this rabbit hole.
And I can like, even thinking about this, I can already hear Jane being like, no, this is impossible. We have to like handpick it because otherwise it's slightly off. And I'll probably agree, but I also have some hopes that, because like with the relative colors, it also CSS also supports different color models, right? Like it's not just RGB, you can do HSL and whatnot. And I have some hopes that maybe in those other color spaces it's easier to pull this off. But then again, let's see. So far we're just like taking it to the other extreme, I guess, and being a little bit too detailed and having too many variables. But eventually, hopefully, we settle on something that makes sense. So yeah, that's the one challenge I'm tackling these days. The other thing that I luckily was able to work on was a bit of a surprise feature that we didn't like. It's one of those features that we had on the list for basically forever, but never got to it. And then 3-4 weeks ago, we had a call with a customer who ended up they ended up creating several thousand properties, user properties or company properties, I don't remember, like basically several thousand different properties with like different names, and a lot of them were kind of similar but not the same, and it caused all sorts of problems on our side, especially in the UI, because then you have property drop down fields with 4,000 entries. For one, I think we did only load a couple hundred by default, and then we had to figure out how to do pagination and stuff like that on the drop downs. Eventually,
pagination on drop downs. That's a fun one.
Yeah. Like, fun fact, we skipped on it and just increased the page size. But eventually, we got on a call with that customer, and they explained their use case. And unfortunately, it made like basically two extremes. Like they could either do it the way I was proposing with like just a handful of properties, but then it wasn't granular enough and they'd lose information that they absolutely need to run their automations. Or the other extreme was like creating thousands of properties and then having all of the information, but like, yeah, having thousands of properties. And we discussed this for an hour or two and eventually decided the only reasonable way to solve this is having proper support for arrays in user list. And while you can currently send array values into user list as the custom properties, there's no UI, at all to filter them. So you cannot do stuff like show me everyone where the integrations array has a value of Shopify or something like that.
So this would be like tags. It would operate in a similar way as tags.
Like, let's put it that way. Tags are arrays. Yes.
Yeah.
So
no, but I feel like if you have, you always with the olden times, you have a post, it can be in like all, like you have a 200 tags on that post, but you have 3 categories, right?
Right. Yeah. So yes, you can do tags with that, but it's a little bit more complicated. Like in their case, it was like you have an array of integrations, and each integration has a type and a state. They have trials. Like basically, every integration is a separate product in their product. So all of them have a state, and they can be trialing, and like they have a custom name and stuff like that.
Oh, so you maybe like 3 properties, but in an array. That's what you're
Exactly.
saying?
So
Okay. That was
So you
that was
can-
an important distinction. Now I understand.
you can do like, yes, you can do arrays of strings and use them like
Yeah.
tags. That works. But like you can also do arrays of objects, and you can also do arrays of objects with arrays inside of them, and you can do arrays of arrays. But that one I haven't fully figured out how to do the UI for this. Anyways, long story
This is
short,
super powerful.
yes, it's super powerful, and it was like breaking my brain for the longest time on how to do this properly. But inspired by that conversation, realizing that for that particular customer, this is basically the only viable solution. I sat down and figured out a solution that allows us to do these types of queries. And for the last 2 weeks, I spent most of the weeks figuring out how to do this in the UI. And I had to jump through some interesting hoops that I didn't anticipate in terms of like how to figure out, is this an array of strings? Is this an array of objects and stuff like that? But as of last week, we have a working version. And as of this week, I will be deploying it behind the feature flag and let that customer know so they can start using it. And yeah, maybe we have a nice new feature that we're going to launch soon that's super powerful, and no one will care.
This is going to be a clip.
Yeah. Because if you like, yes, it's a powerful feature, and yes, it's pretty cool, but similar to what you explained earlier with like, those people don't know that their code is insecure. A lot of the people don't know that they want to query arrays and stuff like that. So this is it's one of those features for the people who know, right? Like, you either had this problem or you have no idea what this is about. So while I'm excited to finally get this into the product, because truth to be told, like, a couple of customers have run into this limitation where they were like, yeah, we signed up and we saw we can store arrays, and then we tried to filter them and it didn't work. And we were always like, yeah, we know it's like a limitation and stuff like that. But yeah, just getting rid of that will be great. But again, like, to someone who doesn't have a deep understanding of this, it either doesn't occur to them at all, or they just assume it works, which it doesn't right now. But yeah, excited to get this finished, and excited to finally tick that box. Because good thing that you mentioned it. We always had this stance on tags that we're never going to add tag support to user list, because the tagline is all tagline. The idea is always that tags are stupid and they don't include enough information. But with having array filtering support on properties, we will be able to say, we don't recommend you use tags, but if you absolutely want to, you can just do it like this, right? So that will be interesting. So yeah, that's what I'm working on these days, and hopefully we'll get it shipped soon. You have a hard stop, right? It's like 2 minutes, so we should probably wrap it up.
A hardish stop, because I'm meeting up with the Pirate Princess because we are gonna go try on some secondhand sailing clothes for her. So pants and a jacket. And if it fits, we're getting like really good stuff for a very cheap price, but it might be too small. But that's on the agenda for this afternoon.
Nice. Then I keep my fingers crossed that it's not too small and fits, and yeah, you get some new clothes for the Pirate Princess.
Yes, and then we need a jacket for Ola, and then we're good.
Only 4 weeks to go, right? Like, you can do this.
I can do this. I mean, worst case, you have to just like walk into a sailor store and buy that ridiculously expensive jacket at full
Right.
price that we're trying to find. And there's a lot of almost not used stuff because people plan and they buy and they don't go.
Yep.
Yep.
Or they go once and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Anywho, see you around the interwebs.
Yep. See you and yeah, talk to you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.